This is the first time I've ever read for anybody from this book. This is from the prologue. That summer earned itself a place in the record books that's never been beat. The hardware store sold out of fans by mid-June, and the Montgomery twins fainted at the 4th of July parade. By the time August showed up, we couldn't wait to send it packing. To this day, my sister insists it was nothing more than the unrelenting heat that drove us to do what we did that summer. But that's just true, yanking my chain the way she always has. Deep down, she knows as well as I do that it wasn't anything as mundane as the weather. It was the hand of the Almighty that shoved us off the straight and narrow path. Whenever the old neighborhood pals get together, if it's a particularly sticky evening, the way they all were back then, memories get tickled up. Sitting out on one of our back porches in the dwindling light, somebody will inevitably bring up the mysterious disappearance of one of our homes that long ago summer. Do you think he was murdered? What about kidnapping? Well, he could have just taken off. Trying to figure out what happened to him has become as much fun for our friends as remembering our games of red light, green light, and penny candy from the 5 and dime. But for the O'Malley sisters, the fate of that certain someone is no more mysterious than the way he broke my front tooth that sultry August night. The two of us know exactly where that devil in the details has been for the past 50 years. He's where we buried him. The sweltering summer True was 10 and I was 11. The summer of 60.
If you don't have books on recorded books, you read beautiful.
Well, thank you. That's my job, and nobody will give me a recorded book deal. I don't know what. Thank you.
As a recording, you have a fabulous one.
Well, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. It's always good to hear that. Should I read a little?
Yeah.
All right. Chapter 1. Now I'm back, on Sally. Somebody at his funeral called Donnie O'Malley lush. I couldn't agree more. Daddy was just picked corn on the cob and a game-saving double play all rolled into one. That's how lush he was. Someone else at the cemetery said that time heals all wounds. I don't know about that. Daddy crashed on his way home from a baseball game at Milwaukee County Stadium 3 years ago. The steering wheel went into his chest. I wasn't in the car that afternoon. I hadn't weeded my garden, so he told me I had to stay back on the farm, and I told him I hated him and wished for a different daddy. I didn't mean it. I'd just been so looking forward to singing the land of the free and the home of the braves, eating salty peanuts in the 7th inning stretch. When he was in the hospital, Daddy shooed everyone else out of the room, and he had me lie down with them. No matter what, you must take care of True, he told me. Keep her safe. You need to promise me that. He had tubes coming out of him, and there was a ping, ping noise that reminded me of the 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea movie. Tell your sister the crash wasn't her fault, and tell your mother that I forgive her. I'll be watching, Sally. Remember, things can happen when you least expect them. You always got to be prepared. Pay attention to the details. The devil is in the details. I never forgot what he told me or what I promised him, but Daddy's especially on my mind this morning. Well, when it's baseball season, I always remember him better. The other reason I'm thinking about him is because True and me just got home from getting our brand new started summer sneakers at Schuster's Shoes on North Avenue. That's the store where Hal Gustafson used to work. He's the man Mother got married to real quick after Daddy died. My sister thinks she accepted his proposal because Hall had a tattoo on his arm that said Mother. But I think she did it because Daddy forgot to leave us a nest egg. I watched Mother collapse in our cornfield and beat the dirt with her fist, shouting, Donnie, Donnie, how could you? But I forgave him right off. When you're a farmer, it's hard to put something away for a rainy day. The whole time we were trying on heads this morning, I kept imagining that slobbering Swede stumbling out from behind the curtain where the shoes are hidden, but I was dumb. Our stepfather doesn't have a job at Chester's or anyplace else anymore because he got into a fight at Jerbeck's Beer and Mall with the owner, who was famous around here for bowling a 300 game, but also for being quick with his fists. Hall's in the big house now for murdering Mr. Jerbeck with a bottle of Old Milwaukee. Sometimes in bed at night when I can't sleep, which is mostly all the time, I think about how good that all worked out. And just for a little while, it makes me feel like God might know what he's doing. At least part of the time. He did a bad job letting Daddy die, but I admire how the Almighty got rid of Mr. Jerbeck and Hall in one fell swoop. That really was killing two dirty birds with one stone. True wasn't thinking about Hall when we were up at the store, not how he dragged her out of bed, knocked her head against the wall, or any of the other rotten stuff he did, like sneaking behind Mother's back with a floozy. My sister was having the best time this morning. She's nuts about Chester's because it's so modern. They've got a photoscope machine that's like an X-ray. True adores pressing her eyes to the black viewer to see inside her feet. But when I look down at my bones, they remind me of Daddy lying beneath the cemetery dirt. You know what I've been thinking, Sal? My sister asked. We're sitting on the back steps of the house. I'm raring to go, but she's working hard to loop her new shoelaces into bunny ears. True was in the crash with Daddy. She played peekaboo with him on his way home from the baseball game. Holding her hands over his eyes for longer than he should have is what caused the car to go skidding out of control and smash into the old oak tree in Holly Road. She got her arm fractured. It aches before it's going to rain and also made her not very good at tying. What? I asked her. It would be a fantastic idea for us to get away from the neighborhood for a while. We should go away to camp this summer, she says, batting her morning sky blue eyes at me. My eyes are green and I don't have hair the color of maple leaves in the fall the way she does. I have thick blonde hair that my mother brushes too hard and puts into a fat braid that goes down my back, and deep dimples that I've been told more than a few times are very darling. I've always had long legs, but this past year they grew 3.5 inches. My sister thinks I look like a yellow flamingo. We need to expand our horizons, True says. Well, even though we don't look very much alike, we are what people call Irish twins. True will turn 11 2 months before I turn 12. I always know what she's really thinking and feeling. We have mental telepathy. So that's how come I know my sister isn't telling me the truth about why she wants to go to camp. It's not the neighborhood she wants to get away from. She likes living in the brick house with the fat-leafed ivy growing up the sides and bright red geraniums in the window boxes and lilacs falling all over the picket fence like a purple waterfall. It's the owner of the house True's got problems with. She wants to get away from Dave Rasmussen, who we moved in with at the end of last summer. He is my real father because when Daddy was in the war, Mother accidentally had some of the sex with Dave. Oops. For the longest time, I didn't know that Dave was my flesh and blood. When I found out, I didn't think I would ever get over it. But I mostly have, in my mind anyway, in my heart. Daddy is still my daddy, and Dave is Dave. Maybe someday that will change for me, but it never will for my sister. Daddy will always be her one and only. He looked at her like she was a slice of banana cream pie. I was his second favorite, plain old dependable cherry, and that was fine with me, because when you got a sister like True, you got to expect these things. I don't want to expand anywhere, I told her. My horizons are fine. Yeah, that's what you think, but Mrs. Kambowski told me that a person should get out and see the world whenever they can. True tells me in her know-it-all voice that is not my favorite. She said that travel is a trade chic. She's wrong. Mrs. Kambowski is the boss of the Finney Library who won't stop teaching my sister these French words, no matter how many times I politely ask her to stop. You know as good as me that going someplace you've never been before can turn out really bad, I remind True. Remember what happened to Julie Adams and the creature from the Black Lagoon when she went to the Amazon? And what about Sky King? He always gets into trouble when he goes flying off into the horizon. Daddy and I never missed that show because he was a pilot too. And what about all that bad stuff that happened to us when we moved from the country to the city? I knew you'd say that, she says with a smile that can bring the dead back to life. She inherited it from Daddy. He gave her nickname too. After she got a rusty nail pulled out of her heel and didn't even flinch, he started calling her a real trooper. And then because that took too long, we began to call her Trooper, and then we shortened it even more. Her real name is Margaret. I also call her my true genius because she's really smart. She can come up with plans like nobody's business. Like this camp one she's trying to sell me, harder than the Fuller brush man tries to talk Mother into a new broom, even though the old one still got plenty of bristles. That's why I was thinking we wouldn't go someplace brand new. We'd go to the same camp Mary Lane went to last year. You know, that one up in Rhinelander? She bragged about it so much, it's like we've already been there, right? Wrong. No. Down the block, Bobby Darin is singing on the radio, "Won't you come home, Bill Bailey?" And that has got to be a sign from God to stay put right where I am. I might not have a lot of belief in him anymore, but I got enough to pay attention to the details.